All right, guys. I'm here with Jace Kovacevich. He's out in California. We actually met a couple weeks ago at the high level conference and hit it off. He's an awesome guy, runs a really cool agency and now software company uh, working with restaurants. So first time I heard that kind of blew my mind because you always hear people starting out with restaurants and then being like, oh, this is the worst niche ever, and then moving on to something else. So it just goes to show that you can crush it no matter where you're at. Jace, thanks so much for coming on, man.
Hey, Keaton, I'm pumped. Thank you for having me on as well.
Yeah, man. So I just want to hear your story. Like, I don't even know the full story, so I'm super excited to hear it and share it with some of the beginners that are listening to this. So take us back to like how you got into the agency world in the first place.
Yeah. So I think my entrepreneur story is, like the typical entrepreneur story that people come in and they don't take authority well and they failed out
Mhm.
of school and they became entrepreneur. Like that actually really wasn't me. Like I was always a pretty good student. Like I never had any issues, taking direction from people. But after a couple of years of working a corporate job, I was working at Macy's out of college,
Nice.
believe it or not. And, I was doing the whole corporate route, going to be part of their, corporate management program.
Okay.
Um, and then I remember that I was just fighting to get a promotion. I think I was like making 50,000 and I was trying to make 60,000. And I was trying the entire year to just get this promotion.
Mhm.
And I remember my boss sat me down and there was some changes going on, as you probably could tell, a company like that is
Mhm.
shuffling around, figuring their shit out right now. Um, and he's like, yeah, I just don't think that's going to happen for 9 months or a year. And
Okay.
what he told me, and he said, but don't worry, it'll go by quick. And it was at that moment where I realized, and I thought in my head, I'm like, life goes by quick.
Mhm.
And my mind started opening up to the potential and possibility of me having, my own company. And at the time, I had a roommate too that had started an agency. He kind of inspired me to get into it as well. All of a sudden, I saw his lifestyle increasing, and I'm just like, what are you doing, man? Like you drive an Audi now. You're like the cheapest person I've ever met before. you're the cheapest person I've ever met, and now you're like buying a bunch of MacBooks. You're driving an Audi. You're like offering to pay for my dinner. I was like, what's going on? Like, what's
Yeah,
wrong
yeah.
with you? He's like, well, I'm doing this like agency thing. This is like Facebook ads, like 2013.
Nice.
Like he's one of the first Facebook advertisers. And so then I had this idea where I was like, hey, well, what if I can do an agency? But I didn't have any skills. I didn't have any skills at the time.
Mhm.
And then my business partner, Brett, was doing social media and taking pictures for brands. And so I just went to him and I said, hey, if I can help you get some clients, like, do you think potentially we could partner up and work together? And I was just hustling on my days off, just trying to get a client, trying to get a client, trying to get a client. I didn't even know what we freaking did. I was just like, hey, we just do social media, like straight
Yeah.
up. Like I was so desperate to get out of my like what's you might be able to help me out with this, but like what's the saying that people become an entrepreneur for like it's like uh they want to get out of their situation really bad. It's like dumb luck or like something else. But like I was in so much pain with my current
Yeah.
situation. I just needed to get out, and so
No.
I just literally just jumped ship. So like what most people do, and I don't know about you, but like what most people do is they kind of like learn a skill for a little bit and then get into it. I literally was
Yeah.
just like, get me the fuck out of here, and
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
like took the leap.
Did
Like
you have any clients at that point that you were making money from when you left Macy's?
No. So what I figured in my head at the time is I figured that I was working 5 days a week.
Mhm.
And so I remember looking at, okay, I have like 3 months of savings in my bank account.
Mhm.
And I was like, well, if I quit, then I can spend 5 times as much time trying to get a client.
Nice.
So I quit. I literally got a client like the week later. It just goes to
Nice.
show like when shit's on the line,
Oh, it's so true.
you'll figure it out. Like
Yeah,
you'll
so
you'll figure
true.
it out. And so I got a client literally the week later, and I got like another client like 3 weeks after that. And I thought I got this figured out. Like doing the social media. The
And you guys
problem
were just
was
like, were you taking pictures and posting for them?
Literally, yeah. So
Yeah.
my partner would take pictures, and like I would just like we would just post on social media at the time, right? Like that was like Instagram, like 2015, 2016. Like there was
Mhm.
brands that were growing, and like an Instagram following was like pretty valuable. I'm not saying that it's not still valuable today, but
Yeah.
it was more valuable like
Yeah.
then,
And like
right?
probably sort of like TikTok where you can just pop off.
Exactly. Yeah. So like growing people's Instagrams was like a valuable service. And a
Nice.
lot of time, remember too, like um social media was like brands now, like it's very standard. Like if you're not on social media at all, like you're blowing it. But at the time it was still in that phase of like people didn't really know how to do it, what it was. Like we just came off of like, Facebook was like a thing for like college students. It was
Yeah.
still it was still there,
Yeah.
Um, so we started, getting a few clients, and then
And those were just like random, like what were the two first clients you got?
I literally said yes to anything that somebody would give me money for. So like they're like, "Do you do websites?" I'm like, "Absolutely." "Do you do social media?" "Yes." Like so we did social media, we're doing video, I did website.
And it was all just local people.
Yes, yeah. It was mostly like either I worked at this like shared office space, and so we got
Yeah.
some clients from there.
Nice.
But at the time, like I was excited about what I was doing, but at the same time, like I was still like very insecure and
Mhm.
like didn't have a lot of confidence. I was probably living off of like $2,000 a month. I remember I could go to Trader Joe's and I could like dial in my groceries for the entire week for like $50. Like I had
Nice.
Trader Joe's. So if anybody needs any tips on like how to navigate Trader Joe's to live on a budget for any beginners listening, I got you.
And these are California prices, so it shows it can be
Yeah.
done anywhere.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I had it like I was just making it happen, right? And
Mhm.
I think the problem is like I couldn't show these clients either that like we were making them money.
Mhm.
And so as quickly as I got them, I also lost them to the point where like I didn't have a client for like months. My bank account was getting down to like, I think the lowest that it got was like $900 or like a
Nice.
thousand. I get that. Hey, some people have that in their bank account. That's fine.
Mhm.
But like at the time, just watching it plummet. I mean, anybody who's like been in a tough time that just is watching their bank account, just
Yeah.
like in your head, you're thinking, am I going to have to move back in with my mom and dad? This
Mhm.
is like what
Yeah.
you're thinking. Right. And, my neighbor gave me a Facebook ads course. He just could tell that I was like just depressed and I was down. And he's like, well, I got this course. Um, and I watched this. That was my first course that I ever watched.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I didn't understand like coaching consulting courses.
Yeah.
Like I didn't get that you could like buy information from people and like short your learnings. I was just kind of
Yeah.
like figuring it out.
Yeah.
Um, and so I got access to that. Um, and it was actually I don't know if you've heard of Billie Jean.
Yeah.
I was one of Billy's like first like 100 customers that he
No
ever.
way.
Yeah,
Nice.
like it was. Yeah, it was like way back in the day. And so I invested into a Facebook ads program, I think for a few grand. I spent money that I didn't have because in my mind, I'm like, you know, if I could show customers that I'm making them money, I think that would be a
Mhm.
valuable skill. And that was the first time where I invested money and used it as a vehicle then to create a skill to make more money. And I think that was like a huge breakthrough for me
Nice.
and just overall like understanding how this works. As I'm like, I could buy information from somebody and just basically short my time frame on learning it.
Yeah.
And then that's where I just started doing like Facebook ads for any company. It's like e-commerce, Botox, like
Nice.
local studios. I would just go around in my local area and just literally just walk into businesses and be like, hey, like I can get you customers. And then, getting like small little Facebook ad retainers for like $500 a month, $1,000 a month. just trying to just get some experience. And
how old were you at this point?
so I was like, this is like coming up on, this is like month when I got that Facebook ad course, it was like 7 months of just like eating shit. And then it was like the year and a half, 2 years is like when or probably like a year and a half in or year in, I decided that like I was going to get this course.
Okay. Nice.
Right.
And but like age wise, you're what, like 24?
26.
26?
Yeah. So
okay.
I started when I was 25. And then so at this point I'm like 26, 27.
Cool.
Right?
Nice.
Yeah. And yeah, so I'm helping these brands. And yeah, just feel free to pause me or interrupt me as I'm going through this.
I'm loving it.
Yeah. So I'm helping these brands, and we end up getting a couple restaurant brands. In fact, we get a client on a huge retainer. They were Original Tommy's. They're like a burger chain here, a pretty famous burger chain here. And I remember I get that client for $15,000 a month was the retainer that we got them.
Whoa.
And previously my biggest retainer was I think like $3,500 or $3,000 for the biggest. So I remember when I said the price, I remember sitting there being like, I just fucked this up. And then they're like, okay. And I remember just the feeling of just like, that was another thing of like, holy shit, like I can charge a lot of money for this and people will pay it. Right. Each of these, like, that I'm telling you these stories, like each of these are kind of like small wins in my brain that sort of got me to the next step.
Yeah. That's huge. And
restaurant, that was how we kind of like got into restaurants. Cause I was like, wow, this big company wants to pay us a lot of money. So at that point, probably like 50% of our customers were restaurants, but we still had like e-commerce. I was still like allowing other people in, and we weren't really like niching down, but it was very obvious that I think I ran like a Facebook ads, like video views campaign, and their CFO at Tommy's for 33 locations said it was the largest boost in sales that they had ever seen, like since he started looking at the company.
That's so cool.
I literally ran a brand awareness campaign on Facebook, and they were like, this is the biggest lift in sales I've ever seen.
That's amazing. That's so cool.
Yeah. So then Facebook ads just kind of became like our shit for a little bit, and so then it was like, we were doing at this point, like 30-40 grand in month in revenue, right? Like kind of, I think like kind of the plateau that people hit before they're able to really like get leads into their business. So fast forward probably like 6 months or a year later, I think when you're trying to grow your company, right? Like that client that we were giving service to at the time that we were giving a lot of value, well, like, I'm trying to figure out how to grow. Long story short, we end up losing that $15,000 a month client, and that made up at least 1/3 of our revenue, right? So at this point in time, we got an office, we got like an employee or two, and then we don't really have a way to bring in customers.
Yeah.
So like our business bank account is just like plummeting, right? We're just like eating shit month after month after month. I would just try to like hit up brands and try to just like, just the old school way. And I just thought in my head, I was like, again, there's got to be another way to do this. At the time, I discovered ManyChat when it first came out.
Nice.
There wasn't even, do you use ManyChat?
Yeah.
Okay. There wasn't any growth tools or anything at that time. You had to like link it to Zapier to like send the message.
Yeah.
And that was when there was no like 24+1 rule either.
Okay.
So I started running Facebook ads into Messenger, and the results were just like stupid. Like it was insane. But we were one of the first people to do that. At the same time, the thing that we were struggling with was getting new customers. So I got another program. This program, shout out to, I got Sam Ovens Consulting Accelerator.
Yeah.
Yes.
Life-changing for everybody that took it.
Totally. Yeah, I mean, I still think it's one of I still think it's one of the better beginner courses, even though
Oh,
some of the
totally.
stuff's outdated.
Yeah.
So we had such a unique product opportunity at the time. And so I remember my business partner gets back from vacation and I'm like, hey, I think I like have this new strategy that I think can like put leads on the calendar. So we literally just like take a bunch of photos of us. I go and write copy of like how we can get customers and track it, put it on Facebook. And I remember just seeing like the leads just populate, ding, ding, ding.
Very cool.
And my business partner is texting me like freaking out, like, oh my God, like there's leads coming on the calendar.
Yeah.
And man, we got in a groove after that where we went from 40K a month to like 150K a month in like 9 months.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
legit.
It was just because it was once like the ads were still so cheap. I think this is like 2018, 2019, like
It's
Facebook
like the
ads.
golden age of messenger ads, dude.
Well, we were doing that for our customers,
Yeah.
right? We were doing that for our customers.
That's
and so that was super unique because that was before there was even any agencies competing with us. Like now there's like a ton of copycats and like people that do that stuff like all the time. But like that was so new. That was so new. That was before like ManyChat even had like their first conference or anything.
Yeah.
And so
but sorry to clarify, you were posting on your personal page or you set up ads for your agency and that's where all the leads were coming from?
We started running ads. I targeted people that were like restaurant Facebook page admins or on Facebook. Nice. Or and people that I started creating lookalikes. I literally took this is how not lucky, but because it was we're solving a legit problem, but it just goes to show like the bigger the problem that you solve, the less good that your funnel has to be. Because like they say like what's the best time to have a hot dog stand is like when you have a starving crowd, right? Like if the starving crowd's there, it's like you can have a pretty shitty funnel as long as like your product's good and you have good messaging. So like nobody was like saying that. Like now there's like people, the whole like VSL, the book a call thing, like the market didn't really like, we were kind of like the first ones to my understanding that was like doing that for our space. So
got it.
Like the results that we were getting was stupid. Like, and so I would just literally just slam them onto the calendar. And then Brett would just literally just be closing like 3 customers a day.
And that was,
and then we scaled it. We were speaking on stages. We just became this like huge, agency in the space, like it seemed like overnight, but it was like a process and
for sure.
Right time, right space.
That's so cool that Sam Ovens, like, I remember the first time I learned about the VSL, I'm like, oh, it makes so much sense. Like, that's so cool. And now it's like second nature. I'm like, did you set up the VSL? We got to refilm the VSL.
Right. But that was new. That was new at the time. And so
sorry, like one question. Had it occurred to you to run ads for your agency before? You just didn't really know how to set it up? And like Sam's thing clicked, or you had never thought to run ads for you guys?
I thought it was possible, definitely. But when you're first like starting out, like setting up like a video sales letter, like you have to write like a video that has like sales copy in it. You have to like write ads. Like the pixels like weren't super straightforward. Like you had to like pixel the page properly. You had to track the analytics. Like it's a lot like at first. And so I just didn't even try it, I think, before I kind of had a general idea, just because it just seemed to me at the time overwhelming. But you and I can sit on this call right now and be like, oh yeah, BSL, like that's just like part of it. But at the time, it's not, it wasn't like that.
Yeah. I had a guy that I worked with for a while, ran some ads for some of my clients. And he was like, dude, the more I like work on this funnel, the VSL funnel, cause he was also running some ads for our agency, like the more I just see it everywhere. Like it's literally like Sam Ovens changed the landscape just by doing that. Like
and Sam Ovens was probably not like the first one to do it. It's just the one that I came across,
And I think he popularized it. And like you look at a couple years ago, if you looked at everybody's funnels, it was like the ClickFunnels template in his
Yeah.
course that had just been like duplicated everywhere. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
cool.
I think I literally just like changed the text, like, and then obviously changed the video, but like everything else, there was nothing unique or cool about it. Like now you look at our like marketing, our website, our funnels, and it looks like, super professional. It looks
Mhm.
on brand. Like it literally was just like text on like a white page.
Yes.
Like it was actually a joke,
I love it, dude. So cool. So,
But hey,
okay.
right place, right time.
Yeah. So going back to the story, you guys scaled from like 40 to 150. Why did you end up losing the big contract, by the way?
We lost a big contract because what we were doing at the time, like we were just like the all in, like we'll do everything for you agency.
Oh, okay.
And like the biggest thing too when we were scaling is that you need, especially if you're trying to get into the agency space or like software space for that matter, you
Mhm.
need like a copy and paste
Yeah.
solution so that from a service-based business, like what is a service-based business? You're trying to get people to pay you a shit ton of money and you're trying to do the product or service for as cheap as possible with getting them the best results. And
Yeah.
so like if you're doing every service under the sun, like it's just gonna be tough.
Yeah.
So
It's a recipe for
um,
disaster.
but yeah, so we
You were
we hit
just doing
a brick
too much.
wall because like we hit a roadblock called churn rate. And the biggest at the time, Facebook was getting more expensive. In order to make our offers work, we had to run like deep discounts, and our customers started to hate that.
Mm.
And we had 150 like ad accounts. Like it was just crazy.
Yeah.
On top of that, Facebook started to have a lot of problems, as I'm sure like Zuckerberg's on fire,
Yeah.
ad accounts, like literally on a daily basis. We just had ad accounts just going down. We had somebody hack our entire business manager and start just like spending money on all of our accounts. Like it just became just like such a operational
Yeah.
nightmare. And we built the whole thing off of just like me running ads. And then I had just account managers that would like just do these copy and paste templates. And it was just literally just like run ads and close deals. But that breaks eventually. And so then there was COVID, right? Which we probably got cut in half from that.
Yeah.
And then now, right, we're pushing like, 200 a month plus. But it took a while to like when you're first getting going, like you're the expert, but then there's like another learning curve of like how do you become a good leader, create like very good
Huge.
systems, teams. How do you go recruit really good talent? Like how do you
Mhm.
go find people that you can rely on that have better ideas than you?
Yeah.
Um, all those things, right? Like that was another learning curve that took a lot longer than I thought. Like success
Mhm.
has a weird way of humbling you,
Mhm.
where when we're scaling like that, you think you're not a genius, but like you think that you're figured it out.
Yeah.
And then looking back on it, I'm like, that guy didn't know anything. That guy was running Facebook ads to a below average Sam Ovens video, thinking that he had all the answers.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's just funny to see, like looking back on it and where we're at right now, how many things we were missing then that we thought that we had,
Mhm.
um, to kind of get us in stride with where we're going at this point.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like this thing where you it's just like you learn a skill and then the thing at the top of learning that skill is just learning another skill.
Yeah.
And it's completely different. It's like very soft skill as compared to a hard skill. Like anybody can go in Facebook Ads Manager and like follow a course and set that up.
Yeah.
But like dealing with an employee's emotions, like
Yeah.
completely different game, completely different.
Totally. I also took a lot of pride in being the guy that could do everything as well.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
I got kind of, you get addicted to like the guy that's like pulling all the levers on the ads, that's creating the leads. So like I was like running the finances. Like I was good at a lot of things, But what I realized is like by me trying to like be the guy, I was actually like hurting us because I was doing an average job at somebody else that could be doing a better job.
Yeah.
Where I learned to be able to go find resources, holding on to things that, you know, I took a lot of pride in. So
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's something that I feel like from a personal development standpoint, I've gotten like very good at over the last year, especially.
Nice. And I imagine that's contributed to like a more sustainable lifestyle, a more enjoyable lifestyle.
Oh, it's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
So let's go back to like you started to hit churn, like once you hit 150, what were you charging? Like ads were more difficult to run at that point. So I guess my question is like, what were you charging clients? How have you fought churn? Because it sounds, I mean, like just like me, I haven't figured it out yet. Like I don't think
Yeah, I
anybody's
mean,
figured out
hey,
churn.
it's not like you or I. It's the agency like
Yeah.
death cycle, honestly.
Mhm.
But see, the thing is at the time we were signing up so many people that like churning 15%, 10, 15% of customers every single month.
Mhm.
Like you sign up 20, you lose 5, you're like, so what? Like
Mhm.
I could care less about, I'm not saying this in a way. I do
Yeah.
care
Yeah.
about the clients I work with, but at the time, right? Like you're just like, well, why would I focus time on continuing? I could just
Oh.
continue to sell more, sell more, sell more. But once you get to 150 clients or 140 clients, 130 clients, 15% churn is like we get into this mode where we like would sign 20, lose 20
Yeah.
in a month. And it just becomes like crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and then the team can see how many clients we're losing and they kind of like lose faith a little bit in like what we're doing for people. Also, kind of a lesson for everybody watching as well is like we weren't charging enough money and we weren't keeping track of our margins at scale. So a big pointer for like anybody watching this is like you really want to pay attention to your gross margin. So basically what that is how much does it cost to get one more person on the program? And what you want is like over time, you want those things to like go like this or
Mhm.
like go like that
Yeah.
versus most agencies as they grow in revenue, they don't really think about how is their margins basically getting improving or at least staying the same. So what we happen as like the same amount of money that I was making when I was doing 100 grand a month. Once I got to 150, I was like, wait, I'm like way busier. I'm not making any more money.
Yeah.
Because we didn't really pay attention to operationally like how we were doing things. And so I couldn't even scale if I wanted to because I didn't have the money to afford to go pay, let's say, like our director of customer service now to come into the business and basically like handle all of our accounts. So I don't have to do that.
Yeah.
Because like at the end of the day, I look at the bank account, I'm like, you know, we would just, you know, people would come in, we would just like hook them up with deals. Like it was just kind of like, well, sales is sales, right? No,
Yeah.
you know, if
Yeah.
you're running 30% margin on your agency and you give somebody a 30% discount, you essentially just basically said, I'm just going to like not make any profit from that
Yeah.
customer. That's what people don't realize.
Mm-hmm. And it's so easy, especially when you're on that like uptick and like you're looking at more money than you've ever looked at in your whole life to just be like, cool, yeah, we'll spend on that. Cool, yeah, we'll spend on that. Like we can give a discount to this person. And then at the end of the day, like when you've paid everyone and you see what you get, you're like, huh, maybe there's something to,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, standing our ground a bit more.
And I
So
was spending 40, like 30, 40K a month on Facebook ads just to keep us at that 150 like mark.
wow. Wow.
And you know, internally, right? It
Yeah.
was an insane way to operate.
Yeah. That's
It was kind
insane.
of like this like death cycle where it's like if we stopped the cycle, we would just be fucked. So it's like it's kind of like a drug. It like got you there, and then you kind
Yeah.
of had to like keep feeding it, or else you would die. It was like
Yeah.
so, it was not good.
Sometimes I think like the only person that wins out of the whole agency game is Facebook because they get paid no matter what.
Totally.
And
Yeah.
it's not completely true because I mean, obviously like you can have a great level of success with agency, but there's
Yeah.
just like, yeah, anyway. So did you how did you get out of that and into where you're at now?
We just realized like this just wasn't the right path forward, and we actually were losing a ton of money during COVID just because restaurants obviously aren't open. Guess who gets cut first? It's the nice to have marketing service that we were doing for them. We also learned a ton about our industry, right? So this is what really helps you if you're like in an industry for a while. You get to, instead of kind of providing a service that's like a one-trick pony, like a run Facebook ads to get leads, to get customers, it's like you can really start understanding like what a lot of their problems are. And so now the software that we have, we kind of offer an agency plus software hybrid. Dineline is our current company.
Sweet.
And we provide a mixture of software and the service all together. But instead of just focusing on just like running ads and then just like hoping those people show up, we're literally taking more of a holistic approach. So now our customers, pay us, let's say $2,500 a month, and we literally are like their outsourced CMO. So like anything that they needed to get taken care of. But see, the thing is on our end is like all those things are systematized. So it gives the client the feel as if they have every resource that they need. But the systems are so dialed in on our end that like it's just like a well orchestrated machine.
Very cool. So do you do websites, et cetera, for them, or like the main service is still Facebook ads, right?
We don't do any Facebook ads anymore.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
So
we do all search-based ads now.
Oh, okay.
We integrate into their phone line with a missed call text back. We built out an AI customer service chatbot that integrates with all their platforms. So if you message them on Facebook, Google Chat, et cetera, and says, "Hey, can I place an order?" So many restaurants get missed calls or like people message them to place an order and there's nobody to respond. So this bot gets back to them within, seconds to their answer. So they pick up a lot of revenue that way.
Mm-hmm.
We help with their in-store activation. So, getting customers onto a customer database, and, they have a dedicated account manager that's able to, make sure that everything's getting taken care of and we can help them work towards their revenue goals.
Nice.
Obviously there's a bunch of other stuff too, but to kind of keep it, simple, that's really in a nutshell. Anything that goes into helping their business grow, like we're doing for them.
So will you, if they're like, "Hey, I need a new website"?
So we don't currently do websites right now. Something that we're looking into, but it's on the horizon as a potential add-on.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that's really cool. I love the outsourced CMO thought process, and it helps them think about it more as like, I can't cancel this versus like this thing that worked really well for a couple months and then probably the results.
Yeah. That's the thing too, is like, think about with your service, how you can make it stickier. Mm-hmm. So from like a Facebook ad, like if you're just running Facebook ads, let's say for somebody, that's so easy to cut the ties on that. They literally just say, turn the ads off and then shut it down. Right. Mm-hmm. If I'm integrated in with all their systems, I'm integrated into like how they communicate, how their team operates, the more I can get in with their day-to-day operations, the better off we are. I mean, yeah, Keaton, like on the website, you're not wrong on that. Like that obviously creates stickiness as well. So something that we're looking to get into down the road.
So do you guys have downsells? Like if somebody's like, "Oh, I can't afford the 2,500, do you just allow them to keep the software and not the service, or you cut them off?
We're also looking to develop that out. But we just cut. Yeah. If your business isn't doing about $500,000 a year in sales, then we have some like courses and different programs that we'll just give away for free right now. Mm-hmm. That'll help you kind of get to that spot, but there's no downsells. We just sell keep the main thing.
Smart.
Yeah.
So a couple of questions. I think hearing your like initial prospecting journey where you're just like, I just got clients. Like I'm working with a coaching student right now that I feel like I failed him in some ways because I'm like, it's just not that hard. Like you just go get the client, like you just talk to him, you just get on the phone and you close them.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people at the beginning like hear that. And to you and I, like to be honest, like closing people wasn't that hard for me. Like I just sort of like came up with some like creative ways to reach out to them, got on the phone with them, and then was able to close them. What would you say to someone who maybe doesn't have like as it doesn't come as easy to them to close people? And maybe I'm wrong in assuming that it came easy to you, but I think
Oh, it didn't.
it didn't.
Yeah.
But like I guess what I'm trying to get at is like it's more about the attitude than the tactics. Like you were just like, I have to close someone, and so you did. So
Yeah.
maybe can you speak to that, and then also your what it was like learning how to close?
Yeah. So if you want to think, that's I'm happy for you that you were able to get in there, no problem. For me, like I was just terrified because I didn't have any sales experience. Like
Yeah.
I've, decent with like talking to people, but now that what I know about sales and the training and everything that I've invested in, like I didn't know any of that. So it was interesting that I was able to like still like get that first few situations happen just
Nice. Yeah.
straight out of just necessity.
Mm-hmm.
But like I was scared as hell, like calling people and like feeling like an idiot, not understanding what I was doing. Like I think it's one thing too to like get confident in somebody that you really, really know it to a T.
Yeah.
Right. And so when you're first starting out, number one, you don't really feel super secure about what you're selling. And that can come across like in the way that you're presenting it. So I think if you're hesitant about having trouble, like let's say closing a deal or closing
Mm-hmm.
a sale, perfecting your craft will help with that.
Yeah.
Like the better that you are at that thing, um, the more confident that you'll be just talking about it.
Yeah.
That's why
And
I always think you should charge for what you're doing. But like, just like I started out with is I just went and I just said like, literally just don't pay me anything. Like, let me just try to do this for you and see if I can make it work. And
mm-hmm.
then once I was able to do it for a couple people, that gave me a lot more confidence to go to the next person and then now say, hey, look at these results I've gotten. I had a little bit more, I feel like I could speak to it more because like I did it, versus just like pitching something that I just had no experience doing. So that's the first thing, right? I
Yeah.
would say that the more you do something, just like the more you're able to confidently speak about it.
Mm-hmm.
And the second thing is just like taking the mentality of it is that when you're helping somebody with their situation, like it's a win-win. Like I think sometimes people feel like, oh, I'm like gonna hard sell them or I'm going to like do something that they don't want to do. Like you guys can both win. Like think
Mm-hmm.
about like if they don't work for you, like what else are they gonna do? They're gonna not change their situation, and
Yeah.
you have a skill or a knowledge that's gonna be able to help them. Um,
Even if that knowledge is marginally better than theirs, like
yeah,
way
like
more than the average business owner.
literally my one of my friends is kind of like on that same road. Like he just started an agency and like he wasn't feeling very like secure. He's like he's trying to do some email marketing and he's like telling me, he's like, I just feel like I just don't even know like what like I'm doing, or I don't feel like I'm an expert. And I tell him, I'm like, client is here, you're here. It doesn't matter that you're like out. You don't have to be like out here in order
Mm-hmm.
for that to be valuable. The fact that you're 2 feet in front of them, like gets them from point A to point B. And so have confidence in knowing that like you're still helping them move forward.
Yeah.
Hey, you're literally trying to get Shopify clients and you have zero skills. There's plenty of businesses out there that are doing 10 or 20 grand a month on Shopify that literally just need an extra hand. The fact that you can just go and watch some YouTube videos and like learn something just to like help them move their thing along is
Yeah.
like adding value to their situation, and you can charge them money for that.
Yeah.
But like I think people just don't take action because like they're just like never an expert. But like I've been doing for this for like 6 years, and it takes time for that to like, you're not useless just because people feel like they need to be a pro before they like do anything.
Yeah. They're too worried about being an expert that they can't be a beginner first.
Yeah.
And that, it reminds me of, I think Steve Larson, who worked for Russell Brunson for a while, said, it's amazing how much people will pay us to think for them. And that's basically what you're doing in the beginning. You're just thinking for other people and like
Yeah.
piecing things together.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the second question I have is, I think a lot of people, again, as I mentioned at the beginning, like when I heard you were in the restaurant niche, I was like, what? Like people actually run a successful agency there. I feel like the niche question is such a, beginners get hung up on that so much as well. And so can you talk about like being in a niche that's like quote unquote low ticket, or, you know, and how you guys have had success?
Yeah. So I think the first thing, if you're a beginner, right, you want to try to get in a niche market like as soon as you can, but at the same time, you're also figuring out what you even enjoy doing. So like when you first start out, like it's okay, in my opinion, to have, let's say, a few different customers in multiple spaces, because like you're not going to land on, let's say, like restaurants, and then that's like the first client you work with, and you're just going to like expand out. Maybe you will if that's like what you're passionate about, or maybe you're passionate about, servicing plumbers or real estate agents or e-commerce, right? And then within those sectors, are you doing websites? Are you doing ads? Are you doing all those things? Like you kind of have to get your feet wet with like a lot of different things to really, like for me, once I found paid ads, like working a camera, I was like, I don't know how to fuck to do this. Like literally, like it was foreign language. Like editing photos, I'm like, I don't have a creative mind. I have a very analytical mind. That's why it took me like a year to find paid ads. And once I found paid ads, I was like, this is my shit, you know? Then I niched down and was like, okay, I'm going to do this. But like before that, I was kind of in the exploring phase. Like if I kept on doing like content shoots with like Instagram models, I think I would literally blow my brains out.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But to answer your question, it really is gives you the ability to like scale out a company. I think people have such a hard time because like, and I talk to agencies that are like kind of at that like 20 grand, 30 grand where we were at, and they literally can't break through. But the reason why is because they can't say no to new customers. Like we had to basically say, okay, here's a third of our business that are e-commerce. Like we're stopping that. And then we're literally just going restaurants. And then when we just decided to do that, now I can run paid ads because I can like literally get in that nerve and really talk specific to that pain point. What am I going to talk about? Like something that's a broad between like e-commerce and it's like apples and oranges, right? Like, so the fact that when I chose that, it helped me strike a nerve with the market. And that's when we just exploded. So the sooner that you can kind of find that, you're right though. It's like such a buzzword now, but it's true.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah, that's cool.
And like we've been in the space, like I'm kind of in a mode now too, where like we've been servicing this market for years and years and years. So it's like, yeah, maybe it's low ticket. Yeah. A lot of people have dipped out on it, but like here we are still doing our thing.
Yeah.
And like we're so much further than like the number 2 person.
Yeah.
That it's like, hey, if you want to come in and try to compete with me now, like go for it. Kind of.
You built the brand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's cool. And that's what the specialization allows you to do.
Totally.
When did you decide to only work with businesses that were doing over $500,000?
When we had issues with our churn, I'll say this. It took us a long time to get the discipline to get there because it was so hard for us to just like burn leads and say no to leads. Like when somebody comes on that's like doing, let's say, 100, like a restaurant that's like broke, right? They're like, I'll do anything, like I'll pay you. And we're like, oh my God, are we really going to say no to this person?
Yeah.
But those customers are literally like, our retention rate has gone through the roof when we just started working with people that were established businesses. Like the
Nice.
problem was never us. It was like, think about the analogy of like, think of some janky restaurant that's like down the street from you. It doesn't matter how well I market that, like
Yeah.
you're not going to go there, right?
Yeah.
For the industry that you service, right? I can show you like the most disgusting orthodontist office ever. I don't care if you give me a BOGO, buy one get one free there. I'm not getting my teeth done there. I'm not touching
Yeah.
that place, right?
Yeah.
So I think revenue and then also customer reviews is very indicative of like, do people even like the product?
That's really cool. And I originally, when you said that, I thought it would be more indicative of the business owner not being like a psychopath, because I think there's a lot of like business owners that are on the lower end of the spectrum that just like don't understand business, but for some reason are running a small business and like you don't really want to work with.
Totally. I mean, you're definitely talking to a higher level person,
Nice. Nice.
right? Like when you're doing a sales call with somebody who's making like, and this isn't agencies. Like agencies get this stuff because like we like know this, but guys talking to a restaurant who are doing like $20,000 a month, like they don't even know what, like, okay, how much does it cost you to get a customer, or like what's your return on, like what's ROAS or like anything like that. Like that is so foreign to them. Like no idea. And so it's very hard to work with somebody like that has a very elementary level, but the revenue that they're doing, not all the time, but sometimes is very indicative of like just the overall demand in that area for their product.
Yeah.
So then when we come in and we do our thing, and when customers are already trying to talk with this business and we just put a chat system on it, when customers are already calling the restaurant and we can follow up via SMS or like phone tracking system, when we launch our local search-based ads and we have customers who are already searching for it, like we literally like blow these restaurants up. But if we don't have a baseline to work with, then it turns into like you guys took my money, or whatever accusation you want to throw out there. But like we were honestly just doing what we know how to do. It's just the product wasn't good. So for everybody out there, don't work with shitty clients. It's like because they are in that place for a reason, and they're looking at you as like this Hail Mary pass to like save their business.
Yeah.
And
not good.
It's just not good, Like very, very rarely will you find, let's say, a company that's not doing very much revenue. I can think of like a couple e-commerce that just literally just didn't know how to do marketing. That we ran paid ads and it just crushed it. But like most of the time, marketing just mirrors the current beliefs of the existing like audience.
That's so cool.
It literally just, it brings the truth to light, for better or for worse. It's like if people already like it, I'm gonna get more people to like it. If people hate it, right, like it just gives people a larger audience pool. Like when I ran Facebook ads, people would just be like, this place, like like I can't control that. I can't control that. I can't control how you're treating customers in there. So anyways, the message is like super important to get good clients, because it's just going to make you look better.
Yeah, that's sweet, man. That's really good. Well, cool. Thanks so much for coming on. Any last words of wisdom, or I don't know how much coaching you do. Would you do coaching? Do you want us to pass, if people want to talk to you, how would they reach out?
I don't do any coaching. But if it is the right situation, I definitely consider it. you know, in terms of like agency operations, how we run our stuff. So, I mean, maybe I could leave my, like a link to just reach out to me if you want. I can't promise you that I would move forward on anything. It would have to be like a right situation for me. But I'm definitely open to the opportunity.
Very cool. Thanks, Jace. Last in like 1 or 2 sentences, what's your biggest piece of advice to any agency owner or aspiring agency owner?
Just enjoy the process, right? Like, we're such in a rush to get to the top of the mountain, but that mountain is always moving. And so just enjoy where you're at. If it's your first 6 months doing it, just know that you're in this for the next few years. So don't beat yourself up about not getting where you want to go overnight. I think taking that mentality just makes everything a little bit more fun.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. And it's what people need to hear. Honestly, like the first 6 months of my business were the happiest, like most enjoyable time.
Yeah.
Because I was like working hard on something I cared about, and my problems were really small. So it's cool. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on, man. Appreciate it.
Take it easy.